My name is Amer, Kayyal. I will be moderating this session. We are going to provide you lovely insights about a very important topic within the telco world. I would like to hand over to the CEO of Telecom Reviews to welcome us all to this webinar and provide us with a quick introduction of your panel, the panelists, and then we can take it there for a fruitful discussion about this, the topic of this webinar. So over to you, Mr. Tony.
Thank you, Omar, and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome and for joining this Telecom virtual panel organized in cooperation with Infoblox. As Omar said, my name is Tony Eid. I'm the founder of Telecom Review Group and CEO of the company, Trace Media International. So it's a great pleasure to host an online discussions about a very important and hot topic today, DDI solution and telco cloud. I would like to thank our dearest panelists, all of them. From Infoblox, we have Hesham El-Sherif. And we have Almansoori. Zain, Kuwait, we have Humoud Alkhamees. PTCL, we have Zeeshan, Masood. And hopefully, STC Bahrain, Hesham Badawi will join soon. And our moderator from EY, Amer Kayyal, who's presenting, will be the MC for today. I'm sure the audience will find this webinar very informative and helpful. So thank you again. I will not be long, and I will hand it over to Amer to facilitate the discussions. Thank you, Amer, again.
Thank you very much, Tony. So as Tony mentioned, the topic is very, very important, and we hope that is going to be it's going to be insightful for the audience. In my perspective, I will provide a very quick overview about my understanding of the topic. So the specific topic in question is DDI, which stands for DNS, DHCP, and IPAM. Because the requirements of modern applications and modern enterprises, the requirements of modern enterprises, managing these fundamental services from a network perspective is very important. So from an operational perspective, because we are continuing or we are continuously depending on cloud services, managing these topics or these domains within operations is very important because the environment is continuously growing, and we are depending on either second or third-party providers for us to be able to provide the operational requirements of that enterprise. So that's from an operational perspective. However, from a cybersecurity perspective, it's also equally important. There are multiple attack vectors or attack threats that might be used by DHCP and DNS. For example, not inclusive, but for an example, so DNS poisoning is one of the very famous attacks that can be used with DNS protocol. DNS stuffing as well. So there is a cyber angle to the discussion, but what we're trying to focus here on is to give insights from the top tier speakers that we have on the panel today on what is their experience of managing these this important topic within their environments. I am joined in the panel by high tier representatives of their organizations. And we have a very known vendor in the market that provides solutions around the topic, which is Infoblox. I have personally worked with Infoblox, and I know the added value that Infoblox brings to the table to facilitate this topic. So I would like to start with the first question. I have a couple of questions that I will take the panelists through. The time of the answer from each of the panelists will be around 4 to 5 minutes. Let's try to stick to that timeline so we can go through all of the questions. So a question to Zeeshan from PTCL. Zeeshan, the question is around what are the top challenges that you have faced in your operations when you talk about DNS, DHCP, and IP management, which is DDI, and how do you think a specific solution that will facilitate those topics or those areas will help you with your operations?
Yeah, thank you very much, Ahmed. as we said earlier in the introduction, that DDI is a must-to-have requirement for now telco clouds, the enterprise clouds as well. As well about the challenges we have, there is a challenge on the system reliability, network visibility, and security. So in the operations, in the day-to-day operation, like the telco cloud is expanding day by day. So adding more value to control that DNS queries and the DHCP services within the telco cloud. So by introducing these DHCP services that is centrally managed by a system like Infoblox, so with this case, we can easily track down the assignments of public IP pool or private IP pool within the network and outside of the network as well. For the reliability and network visibility, yes, for the DDI is actively, contributes the managing and monitoring of network devices and connected can be challenging, especially the network infrastructure become more complex. So DDI solution can provide greater network visibility to enable administrator to monitor and manage all the network devices and connectivities more efficiently, and providing them with the valuable insight to optimize the network performance. As far as the security is concerned, like in Pakistan environment, we don't have 5G network services available in Pakistan. However, for the 3G and 4G service, as a 3G and 4G service provider, we ensure that the security of the network of our network infrastructure and customer data is our top priority. So by using the DDI solution in our environment can also mean to safeguard our other cybersecurity threat, especially on the DNS, like you said that the DNS poisoning, the DNS snooping, and the other security threats, it can be easily managed through that DDI solution.
Thank you very much, Zeeshan. And again, as to a caveat to the statement that you have done, managing this massive deployment of IPs and services like DNS and DHCP, it has an operational mandate, and there is the security mandate as well. So we need to always be vigilant and try to enable our organizations and our enterprises about the operational side and the security side, which it will serve as a great caveat for the next question, which is I will address it to Mr. Omar Mansoori from etisalat. Can you share with us how did you deploy a DDI solution, if any, within your environment effectively, and did that have any impact on the operations within the environment of etisalat?
Yeah. Hi. Thank you, Amer, for your introduction. Yes, just to give you an introduction of what we have done so far, we've been doing this DNS. It is one of the basics and major component of the network, which is the DNS and DHCP. And these are started with the internet initially, but recently they've been, coming into the cloud space and giving the capability to introduce, automation, scalability, and so on. That will give you a value. So what we did, we deploy these services on the cloud, and these gave the advantages of being able to scale in, scale out, improve the latency of the consumer, and improve the the efficiency of operating the platform. At the end of the day, it is the benefit of the provider that is hosting this capability and the consumer at the end of the day, where he will receive the 5-star kind of service to the end user. And eventually, this should have an impact on the overall services in terms of DNS, in terms of IP, DHCP, and in terms of also authoritative DNS. What we've seen so far, it gave a positive feedback on the deployment and how we are operating the platform. We were able to scale up and scale in whenever we needed. The failure rate of failure has dramatically improved, as we can immediately spin up a new virtual machines whenever it's needed. When there is a capacity issue, Also, in terms of monitoring, it gave us the capability to monitor exactly where we were, having doubt and where we have gaps before. So what we see in the future, this service should keep on improving, as it is one of the primary services and basic service of the internet. It should support the container-based and microservices, just to make sure that this kind of capability cope with the requirement of 5G, where you need to bring the content closer to the user, and also support the services that comes in the future, where you have the microservices, container-based kind of applications. And yes, I think what have been done so far is beneficial to the telecom in general and the consumer as well. Thank you.
Lovely insights. Thank you very much. I would just like to add is that, from a telco perspective, having the 5G explosion, I think, is one of the main drivers to have a solution to manage and operate these very fundamental network services that will always have that security element with it, which will bring me to channel the question to Mr. Humoud from Zain, Kuwait. So, in your perspective, and just to take the same level of input that we got from Mr. Omar, how do you see the same requirement or the impact of having these services or having these type of solutions when we're expanding to third-party providers such as cloud services within the telco environment?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me. So to have an effective deployment, as Omar has explained previously, is of course choosing the right DDI solution or the right vendor. The vendor is a very important part of this because he'll be the one who's deploying it. He'll have the reliable solution, stable solution. This is the first part of it. The second part is very important to actually have the proper DDI design or solution design when it comes. So when we started our deployment here in Zain, Kuwait, we were between two options, whether we go with a legacy bare metal appliance deployment or having it as a fully virtualized DDI solution. And of course, it was a no-brainer. We went with the virtualized solution since we already had our Telco cloud implemented on our environment, which is an OpenStack-based Telco cloud. So basically, as Amer also said, we have a full-fledged DDI solution from a DHCP for our LAN users, internal DNS, a recursive DNS, an authoritative DNS, and also we're using it as a GP DNS for our inbound and outbound roamers. How did it impact our operation? It eliminated the risk of a hardware failure. Hardware failure previously and the hassle or the headache of having to order an RMA just to reduce the impact of any failure that is going on and happening. This has all been eliminated absolutely with having it deployed in a cloud. With the help of NSO, which is our automation tool, we can easily spin up a virtual instance once a failure happens, whether it's a bug or a system crash or a software issue, with its day zero config all along. And this, of course, has reduce the impact and minimize it drastically. And also scaling up and down based on our requirement and traffic growth. This is thanks to the having it also deployed in a cloud, plus having the dynamic subscription-based license. I can spin up as much as VMs or virtual instances I want to cater to my traffic requirement. And again, there's so many benefits of having it on a cloud. I can have a fully redundant design. I can have as many as I want of virtual instances, one as a backup to the other, having them both running at the same time, load balancing the traffic between them, and so on. So I guess this is basically the point. I don't want to repeat what Omar said, but these are the main aspects of having it deployed in a cloud instead of a virtual or a physical appliance.
Thank you very much. Can you just quickly add what's the security aspect within the deployment? So the operational is very clear. Thank you very much for the insights. How about security perspective? Having such tool, did it enhance your cybersecurity program within the enterprise?
Yes, definitely it did. Having it, of course, we did enable the normal defense mechanisms such as the ADP, the Advanced Defense Protection. We have the DNSSEC enabled. We have the RPZ, which is the Response Policy Zone, also having a strict ACLs to control who is able to query our recursive DNS to just reduce the chance of having an attack on our recursive DNS. And we know the impact of that is huge. It could lead to our subscribers losing the browsing the internet capabilities. So
exactly. So which is the objective of any cybersecurity program or solution, is to reduce the attack surface as much as possible and enable a better secure environment for our clients. Thank you very much for your insights. I will shift a little bit now to the discussion to Mr. Hesham El-Sherif from Infoblox, which is representing a very well-known contributor within the security realm and within these solutions that we talked about. Hesham, when we talk about reliability, automation, and scalability, what does these three main topics mean within a telco environment from your experience as you're representing Infoblox?
Thank you for having me here, and I'm glad to take this question. When it comes to telco cloud, the main pillar of telco cloud is to decouple the software and the solution, the service, from the hardware and the location itself. Now, every service providers we are talking with need to have the agility, the full control of their services. Where are they going to locate it? How big is it? How to scale in and scale down as well, based on the requirements. The technology evolvement now is going very, very high. Even we cannot predict what's going to happen second year. In the same time, when service providers invest in a solution, they are not going to invest every single year. They have a roadmap for at least a strategic way of thinking. That's why Telco Cloud come to the stage in the first place. Telco Cloud, we need to decouple the hardware from the software. In the same time, I need to instantiate or de-instantiate, provision or de-provision the services wherever I want, whenever I want. For this, we need very centralized and proper visibility to know what to take decision and when to take this decision, and to minimize a human intervention in the same time. So it should be automated scalability. The software licenses that we provide to our service providers give the control in their hand, because we eliminate the fear of what's going to happen. How is update in the software? Let's say Apple iOS releases an update or whatever, online streaming or events. We are living in a countries that have a lot of events and hosts all over the world. So we cannot expect how many users and visitors will be moving from this zone to another zone. In the same time, it's very important to maintain the reliability. When we give the control to the service providers, we give the flexibility to the designers, implementers, and service providers, as well as the operation team will have the trust that he can fulfill his requirement that comes to him. He can easily troubleshoot. In the same time, security. We know the tools that can give the service providers experts what is going to happen now from IP perspective and the DNS perspective, how to secure for Telco Cloud the system, the solution itself, and the subscribers who trust us when he goes to internet. We give fair level of security for all subscribers. We can give dedicated, sophisticated security for specific customers as well if the service providers want to have this. We have to talk definitely in some time about monetization. So the DDI solution shall be adopting all the standard API, shall give the control and the integration with all service providers' other elements, capable to be integrated with orchestration solution to achieve the reliability, scalability, and at the same time, security.
Thank you very much, Hesham, for those insights. We all agree on the need of having that, which will serve again as a very good caveat to the next question, which is basically, let's start with Mr. Omar from etisalat. Mr. Omar, Can we identify why having this solution is very critical from an infrastructure perspective? Because we know that when you're running a telco, one of the biggest requirements to have is a digital infrastructure that is reliable enough to always provide the required services. So what's the need? What's the driver of having that DDI solution in place? And how does that, how you are utilizing that to be able to provide the best service to your clients?
Yes. So, well, in terms of DDI, the basics services that are today provided are being enhanced with the capability when they are on board in the cloud. So these kind of services, they are already more than stable and more than advanced. However, when you onboard it in the cloud, it gives you also more features and capabilities. Just to refer onto, for example, when we talk about giving an API to the orchestrators, you can achieve like autonomous kind of or closed loop kind of capability where failure are being detected and fixed immediately without human intervention. This kind of capability, they used to be missed before when it comes to the appliances. But now once you onboard them on the clouds, you start to see such a capability comes with this, with this onboarding. Not to mention the advancement in terms of, spinning up different virtual machines for different services, decoupling the system from, managing, plus also the capability where it comes to decoupling the services from the data plane to control plane. This kind of capability you did not see before. When it comes to the cloud, you are able to decouple this kind of functionality and give a kind of an advanced experience to the operation and to the end user as well.
Thank you very much. Which basically, gives insights on how critical this for your infrastructure, because it's ever expanding, which gets me to the next question, and I will ask it and towards Mr. Humoud from Zain. We all know that we are in a time where the dependency on onboarding new services or onboarding upgrades on the infrastructure in the telco environment is very important. One of the basic use cases of that is having 5G and the explosion that is happening within the 5G networks and the different type of devices to support that. What if we have a running DDI solution in the environment, and having said that, all of these upgrades is coming into the picture? How did you see the DDI solution supporting these additions into the network? And can you give us maybe a scenario that's happened within the environment of Zain where the DDI solution supported the new upgrades coming in?
Exactly. So, Amer, when we talk about 5G networks, we know its main benefits, such as the higher capacity that it has, the increased bandwidth, and the very low, ultra low latencies that we're reaching. And all of this basically means that there will be a surge in the number of connected users to a network. So having a DDI solution, which is deployed on a telco cloud, means that we can easily scale up our recursive DNS to cater to all these device DNS queries. Definitely, we can do this easily with the automation that we have achieved today with having it deployed in a telco cloud. More users also mean that these users will have a higher cyber threats or cybersecurity attacks towards them. This is normal in any public network. So having, again, the security mechanism being deployed to avoid, as you said, DNS poisoning or spoofing, DNS studying, and so many other cyber security attacks. And also having more connected users, also that means that I need to dynamically load balance their traffic and distribute it among evenly across the multiple DNS servers that I have to ensure that the network can handle the increasing traffic volume during the peak hours. So these are the three main, let's say, benefits of having a DDI with the 5G hand-to-hand.
Very well noted. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, sorry. A scenario that we have today is that we know that the 5G is mainly used towards the 2B segment, the corporates. This is the real use case of it, the real benefit of it. And therefore, what we did actually, and we started this a couple of months ago, that we started communicating with our B2B team, trying to promote the real use cases of 5G, with, of course, the help of the DDI or the DNS solution, to promote it to our corporate customers. And since we know that the 5G is designed to support large number of users, and thanks to its very low latency, it's now possible to control so many machinery, whether it's an industrial plant or it's a logistics in a factory or a surgical operation maybe in the future. We never know. Or even autonomous cars in a smart city in a couple of years, hopefully. And so many other devices, all of them sending and receiving information in real time. So DNS query, we know for sure that DNS query latency is a critical factor in the overall network performance. And to be able to reduce this and help in real-time IoT applications, we have actually started deploying our first edge site, an MEC, with a Telco cloud there. And this will help us to deploy or help us spin up new DNS resolvers closer to these devices or closer to our corporates that would help reduce the latency of the DNS query and overall, of course, helping the overall network performance. And of course, with the help of DNS caching, with this also would reduce it to more significantly. So basically, this is like a real life scenario that is going on right now in our network. I hope that this is clear enough.
Very, very good example, very good scenario. Thank you very much, Humoud. What I can summarize from your insights is that we need to keep up with the demand, the very high demand of end users. Those end users could be business to business, could be customers to business, business to customer, sorry. It depends on the use case, but you need to keep up on the demand while making sure that your environment is secure by mitigating these risks that come up with this demand.
Definitely.
Which brings me to the next question. Back to you, Zeeshan, from PTCL. What do you see in terms of the security practices that you have implemented while you're deploying a telco cloud? We have already spoken a little bit about the security angle within this realm. However, I would like to understand from you, what are the specific security challenges that you faced while you were deploying those security practices?
Yeah. For the security challenges, yes, there is a multiple issue we are facing, and to cater such security challenges, we usually implement the access controls at various network segments within the network, with the implementation of a strong authentication and authorization mechanism to ensure that only authorized personnel can access the cloud environment. Second is network security by implementing the firewall, the IDS, the next generation firewalls, and the other web solutions as well within the network environment for the security devices protection and network against the cyber threats. Another important control is data encryption. Encrypt all the sensitive user data and the network data, and that sort of transit to ensure its confidentiality and integrity from one point to another point. Another important thing is the regular vulnerability management practices within the network. In our case, especially in PTCL, whenever we put any network system or network application or system application, either on the cloud base or on-premise, we regularly run the vulnerability management portfolio, and we run down all the vulnerability assessment plus the other security control to mitigate the risk of cyber attacks. The other is security incident responses. We have a well-defined incident response plan within our network and system environment, and to address any security incident promptly, we engage the relevant team and take appropriate measures to control such security incidents, and share the responses to the relevant team to control the security incidents within our environment.
Thank you very much, Zeeshan, for those insights. These are very important domains that we need to keep in mind when we talk about telco cloud. I would like to channel the question to Mr. Omar. From a etisalat perspective, did you face the same challenges? How did you tackle these challenges, and how did the DDI solution fit within that agenda or within that program?
Yes, I think the same questions and the same answers would be applicable in my case. So these security aspects were actually threats to our infrastructure, and what we have deployed so far, the advanced DNS protection and the RPZ. So this kind of capability exists to help the operators to support the security aspects from consumer perspective and the operation perspective. And we think that once we went with this, we saw a big differences where a lot of threats were reduced dramatically. And I can tell that this kind of capability really added a value. Not to mention that enabling such as DNS over TLS and DNS over HTTPS, this kind of capability actually protected our infrastructure and make sure that kind of spammers being stopped before even getting into the users and giving them services that with very bad quality and with very low security. So when the operator jumped into this field, it will give a lot of advantage to the end user and protect the system data and the consumer data and make sure that they don't face issues in the future when it comes to security holes and
Thank you very much, Mr. Omar, for the insights. As a consultant working within the security realm, to be honest, these functions are so fundamentally required when you're building up a network. Sometimes the security element of it is overlooked, and that's why we always need to raise awareness that there are specific security attacks and security vectors, attack vectors, that uses these very fundamental functions to either conduct a successful attack or use that element to be able to facilitate an attack in the future. Which brings me to a very, very well-designed question, which I will start to address it back to Mr. Humoud from Zain. Your brand is very, very important. It's all of the objectives of a telco should go towards having a very great and very secure brand. Me personally, I know the Zain brand very, very well, specifically from very well-known, videos on occasions, very known occasions within the region, such as Eid and Ramadan and so on and so forth. So the Zain brand is very well known. So what are the initiatives that you take internally within your organization to protect that specific brand, such as subscriber protection, such as blacklisting certain IPs from certain regions?
Exactly. So, Omar, yes, protecting a brand is very important. And by protecting a brand, we're talking about maintaining its reputation, its good reputation out there in the market, especially with all the competitors out there. So we do this usually, and I'm talking from let's say, a technical perspective more than of a marketing or a strategy. We do this by ensuring that the quality of the services, the availability of the services, the reliability of the services we provide to our subscribers and customers are always up to the standard and available. Whether it's the internet access to our subscriber, whether it's our e-commerce website, whether it's our main Zain website, our mobile application, and vast services, and so many other public services that we provide to our customers. And to be able to do this in our environment, we need to ensure that, and as all of you know, that the first phase of any communication is a DNS query. So to be able to reach my service, of course, it has to be available. The DNS needs to respond with the IP address of my services. And to do this, we have enabled so many security measures to ensure its availability and reliability on both our recursive and our authoritative DNS. As I mentioned before, such as advanced defense protection, we have enabled it on our recursive firewall to recursive DNS to protect from such cyber attacks, such as DNS reflection, amplifications, UDP flooding, and so many other volumetric attacks. Even our recursive DNS. We have it enabled there to protect us from cache poisoning, DNS tunneling, and so many other attacks. So by having these features, also in addition to our DNS sec being enabled, DTC there, which is a DNS traffic control feature we have introduced recently, and all the ACLs we apply on the different DNSs to ensure that the authorized subscribers are able to communicate with or query these DNS servers. All of these security measures are in place to ensure that we maintain our reputation, our good reputation out there, by providing our customers with a stable, reliable, and available services.
Thank you very much. Very useful insights where we are linking the technical measures that we are taking to eventually protect the brand. Because eventually, when if God forbids any cyber attack happens on the technical side of the business, it will eventually impact that brand, and the brand will be associated with the cyber attack, which we want to avoid as much as possible.
Exactly.
Mr. Omar, from your side, the etisalat brand has been in the UAE for as long as I remember being in the region. It's very well known. It's very important for the country. A similar question, what are the steps that you took from a technical side or even beyond the technical side to protect the brand of etisalat by using the different solutions that we talked about?
Yeah, I think what Humoud said, I think, is more than enough in terms of deploying such a services. And protection security is the very major aspect to make sure that it is up to the standard, even above the standard. As you know now, a lot of threats are being introduced on daily basis, and we have to keep up with those kind of threats. The same what I have already mentioned, the functions and the features were deployed in Zain. Actually, we also deployed it here. We deployed the advanced DNS services. We applied as well the Infoblox. We have it already, Infoblox in our network. We have RPZ. We don't want to promote them, but yes, they have very good security functions and features. And also we did a lot of in terms of enabling DNS over TLS, DNS over HTTPS. This kind of encrypt the traffic end to end, so the users are not being redirected to certain websites that are not supposed to be redirected. And this kind of capability give actually trust in etisalat as a brand, and give the capability that yes, we have enough security measures put in place just to make sure that the data are being protected and will maintained in terms of services to the end user.
Thank you very much, Omar. A phrase to the audience. We can see a theme here by all of our panelists that cybersecurity, security in general, is a very important driver within the environments of telco, because you're approaching a large entity of people, regardless if they are business or they are end consumers. The brand that the whole organization builds upon it's very, very important. So the cybersecurity element of these solutions is always important, and it always should be in check. Which brings me to a little bit more a different angle of the discussion. We know that telcos in general are in business to try to monetize as much as possible the services and the infrastructure that they are building. So a question back to Hesham from Infoblox. How does Infoblox support the approach for VAS, value-added services, where you can empower your clients, such as etisalat, such as Zain, by monetizing their value-added services by having your solutions?
Thank you for this very good question. We already engaged with marketing team, with service providers, listen to them carefully, and also we advise some ideas. For example, in service providers, they can privilege of the huge infrastructure and the reach to all the aspects, customers and subscribers in home, to host some services in their premises. For example, DNS authoritative, for example. And in the same time, we have to admit that not all subscribers are the same. There is some business customers, there is customers has a family, there is bachelor customers, and we can custom or build a customized portfolio or offering from the service providers that fulfill and fit each group of our subscribers that we serve. For example, if we have educational sector, we can offer them a more tightened, secured, limited access through the DNS, which in turn to the internet, just customized for the education services. Same as banking. When it comes to banking, the security become completely different than comes to other customers. This customizations is handy now with the service providers. When we go to the first question you asked me about reliability, scalability, while Omar and Humoud, Zeeshan talks about how easy to instantiate a new instances, that's exactly respond to this question now. We can have a dedicated instances with a specific portfolio and configuration, fulfill this kind of business trend or this kind of customers and subscribers. One of the things we are always do in Europe, for example, if you have a family in home and kids, you are obliged to subscribe in a specific sort of internet access. Same here in our countries. However, in Gulf, for example, we have a very good level of security, especially for kids and child abuse, but still you can have more on top of it. We can do the monetization here, help the customers or the service providers monetize from the service by helping them design, implement a dedicated custom, a dedicated offering to their subscribers. For this, we work closely with the marketing team, and we already engaged in multiple places as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Hesham. I would like to channel the same question for our operators, all of them. So let's start with Mr. Omar. Are you depending on the solutions mentioned by Hesham to monetize by channeling it through to the other departments within the environment, within the organization?
Actually, this is one of the ideas we are, brainstorming internally, that utilize the DDI solution part of 5G slices and give enterprise customers one of the services that available today, for example, DNS, and give them like closer to the end user. Utilize such a service and function will improve their customer efficiency, and also, offload the traffic from the core and make it to the end user. So this kind of monetization would make sense, since this can be, since it's based on cloud and can be instantiated like quickly and easily.
Thank you very much. Zeeshan, from your side, what's the situation on your side?
Yes. For the monetization approach, a dedicated and centralized DDI solution definitely can enable CSPs to offer value-added services. Like we can offer the subscription-based model, pay-per-use model, tiered services level, and bundling with the other services, because we at PTCL we are providing a public cloud services to the and corporate customers within Pakistan and outside of Pakistan as well. So by using these value-added services and offer the DDI solution and coupled with other cloud services, that will be a great opportunity for the monetization of this DDI solution within our network.
Thank you, Zeeshan, very much. Humoud, the next question is for you, but I would like to start off your input about the same question. Are you utilizing those solutions that we mentioned to enable more monetization of the value-added services?
Definitely. So, as I mentioned previously, that the beauty of having it deployed in the Telecom cloud, that it simplifies the process of spinning up a new dedicated DNS virtual instance for our corporates. So this makes it very simple to sell these services to our B2B customers. And such services could be that we can host their authoritative zone in this dedicated DNS. And this is just the entry point. After we actually land this customer, we start providing him, of course, with a limited API access to be able to add, delete, or modify his records, of course. And after that, we start promoting more add-ons to this service, such as we can sell him the ADP, we can sell him the DTC feature, which is the DNS traffic control, which will give him the load balancing capabilities, source-based load balancing or DNS querying, and so many other features. This is when we are talking about the to-be segment of the market. When we come to our subscribers or the commercial part of it, we're actually looking into the feasibility of using the RPZ to filter web content based on categories. So this is something that we're looking into seriously now. At the same time, this actually brought up a second or another idea to us. That's why don't we use this to actually enhance or enforce parental control, as Hesham already mentioned also. So we can provide the parents with a dedicated DNS resolver that he can use on his children's devices. That will give him more control, or access point to give him more control over the content that his children is accessing, or even disabling internet access at all if he wants to do that also. So these are all ideas that we're having around brainstorming to try to monetize the services that we have today.
Very spot on that. Which, to be honest, I believe it's very important from vendors in the market, such as Infoblox, try to see themselves as business partners to their clients rather than only a solution provider. Which brings me to the next question to you also, Humoud. Visibility is very important from an operational perspective and from a security perspective. How you are using the DDI solution to integrate, which is the main theme of the question, to integrate with other solutions to be able to achieve customer satisfaction. Now, I know that bits and pieces of the question have already been answered, but let's shed a little bit more light about the customer satisfaction and integrating DDI with solution that provides customer satisfaction at the end of the day.
Exactly. So definitely, not only a DDI, any other solution that we have, usually we integrate it with our fault management or fault and the performance management system, our OSS, to monitor its performance, its availability, whether it's up or down the services, its hardware issues, and so many other KPIs. We monitor the queries. Also, we have reports being generated, security reports to know the attack that we're getting, to fine-tune them to protect more our services. I don't believe we're doing anything more than that. This is the normal procedure that we're following today to ensure that our services are available by monitoring them 24/7, of course, with all the automation also involved to receive these alarms or alerts when an incident or an issue actually happens. And in some cases, we do have a specific workflow that will trigger an auto recovery after a critical or a fatal issue happens in the environment.
I couldn't agree more. Customer satisfaction is one of the building blocks of any telco. So I can see how all of these technologies should come together, should integrate not only DDI, all the other solutions to be able to provide that level of satisfaction to the people who are using your services. A very well-designed question again to Hesham. Hesham, what's your strategy when it comes to multi-vendor, multi-platform, multi-cloud? Because we live in a world now where, even specifically in this time, a lot of mega providers of the world are opening data centers and are opening nodes within the region, and that will expand and it will empower the use of third-party cloud providers that will enable the telcos even to depend on them as well to expand their service offerings. So how does Infoblox help that optimization by having a strategy of multi-vendor, multi-platform, and multi-cloud?
This is an excellent question. Service providers today have the full control. We can say they have the right to choose the best solution, and they have multiple aspects, and they need centralized management and control. For example, if you talk about visibility and monitoring, we need to send our logs and our countermeasures or our whatever to their dashboard, unified dashboard that collect the same thing from all multi-vendors to set their KPI and to monitor the KPI, to set the measurement when they need to intervene, when they want to scale in or scale out. So Infoblox works with full standardization in the market. That's very important when the service providers looks at any solution to be on board on the premises, that they will not be stuck to this forever. They need to integrate. Even Infoblox go one step ahead, and we created what we call a concept. We call it ecosystem. So what will happen, and when this happen, what action shall we take? For example, if you have a firewall in place and I found a malware activities that the security trend in RPZ in Infoblox say there is a huge activity to this domain, which is a malware identified website. Yes, we're gonna block it, but we can integrate with multi-vendors approach, as your question is, to send an API call to orchestration solution, or even to the firewall if he support the standard API right away. By this, the firewall will be aware that there is sort of attack. He can take extra precaution, or even DBI. So it is not that monitoring and visibility, but also policy enforcement, also integrate everything to the service providers. That's what service providers is looking for. That's what Infoblox respect in the design, to give them a robust solution that can integrate, not works as a silos, but works for service providers to elevate the level of service and to enhance the overall experience.
Thank you very much, Hesham. One of the fundamental concepts that we as consultants advise our clients with is that we need to establish a relationship with our providers, not to have concepts like vendor lock-in within our solutions or within our services. So having that strategy within Infoblox, I guess, is very, very important for your clients and should be highlighted whenever you're having those discussions with your clients, because that's one of the tick marks that you will tick whenever you're having exposure to those services. Dear panelists, we're heading for the last question of the webinar, which is a very important one, and it's very useful to have your insights. So to Omar, Humoud, and Zeeshan, let's start with Mr. Omar. What is the outlook for the telco cloud, the future telco cloud from etisalat's perspective, and what are your top priorities within the next 12 months within that regard?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Actually, when we discuss with different application owner, they tell you we are cloud ready, cloud native. We are micro, container-based, applications. But when it comes to deployment, you have to make sure that these kind of applications are really compatible with your cloud. So the current deployment, they are already cloud ready, I believe. And what we are looking at next, we need to deploy not kind of a monolithic kind of approach. It's like a microservices and container-based application. And this is what we are heading to in the future, that the application should be kind of container-based and should support the agility, of microservices kind of application.
Thank you very much, Omar. To you, Humoud, again, what's your outlook for the future of the telco cloud? What are your top priorities within the next 12 months?
So let me start by saying that one of Zain's strategies is digital transformation, and we all know that. And part of this is virtualization of the network function that we have today. And therefore, the best and effective way to do this is by introducing a telco cloud in our environment. And therefore, no doubt that the future of telco clouds looks very promising. That's why we're actually investing in it today. And no one can deny the benefits that it brings with it to telecom operators, whether it's the decoupling of the hardware and software or the disaggregation between them that gives us the agility and the flexibility to be able to add network functions on the run, services without any major changes to our physical infrastructure. And of course, one of the also good benefits is the reduction in the capex and the opex in the long run, hopefully. Hopefully, I say, and also the amazing scaling capability that it has. On paper, all this sounds amazing. We need to be honest with ourselves, actually. In the short term, it's a pain. Going from a physical appliance base to a fully virtualized environment, it's a pain. But in the long run, we do see its benefits, and it's starting to pay off today. So I can proudly say that since we started, or when we set out on this journey in the end of 2019, almost just before the pandemic, we were able, until today, after 3 years, we were able to virtualize 90% of our network functions. And the executive level and the management are seeing the benefit of this, and that's why we have the full support to continue this telco or this virtualization journey. And of course, thanks to our trusted vendors, they were very flexible and able to cater to these changes in the to these telco cloud changes requirements. In the next 12 months, of course, there's no doubt we're continuing this journey. We're expanding on our existing VNF environment or the OpenStack environment to achieve our 100% virtualization threshold, hopefully. And at the same time, the evolution will continue, definitely. We at some point, and actually we have started this, we are moving towards, as Omar said, a containerized cloud native environment. This is the future. It's happening today, and we have to be on board. And so the transition from a VNF to a CNF is not that easy. As I previously mentioned, we do need all our vendors' support and trust to be able to move these workloads from a normal VNF to a container-based application. And hopefully, in the next phase, we'll move from the private container clouds to our public ones in the future.
I couldn't agree more. That's the essence of using cloud-based services, to use the power of the cloud. Change is never easy, right? That we all know exactly, that. But exactly. It's the journey. It's the end goal that we need to focus on. Zeeshan, let's close the question with you. What's your future outlook for the telco cloud, and what are your top priorities for the next 12 months?
Yes. We are, as Mr. Humoud and Omar said, that we are also been focusing on the complete end-to-end cloud-native architecture. We are moving towards that. Recently, we did multiple projects in which we modernize our infrastructure and move our traditional or legacy application infrastructure towards cloud-native architecture. So our focus for the next 12 months would be to move as maximum as we can move our traditional applications towards the cloud-native architecture. Most of the telco applications already running on VNF-based, NFVI-based architecture. And we are moving towards from VNF to CNF as well. So and the second one is we'll more focus on part, because with the increasing number of cybersecurity, so focusing on the security would be a top priority for the next 12 months, implementing state-of-the-art security solution within our network. And such as we also mean looking into the AI-powered threat detection and response systems within our protected network and to safeguard the customer's data. The other thing is to develop a robust digital transformation strategy. We have already started the journey of digital transformation since 2021 and 22. Most of the on this platform, we have transformed multiple high-end application services and digitally transformed and using the cloud-native architecture and move on, shift all the applications to that CNA-based architecture. And the last one is improve the IT infrastructure and the telco infrastructure within our network environment, so that we can enable further application for end user. By using these, we deliver high speed and low latency services to the end users.
Thank you very much, Zeeshan, for those insights. I always, say this to all of my clients. we live in a digital world. Because we live in a digital world, and a lot of organizations are trying to transform and to keep up with the digital economy that we live in, cybersecurity is one of the elements that is very important to be able to secure that economy and to secure that presence within that digital economy. Thank you very much for all our panelists for their insights and their input. I would like to ask the audience to place any questions they have in the chat box so I can convey them to the panelists. While that is happening, we will activate the polls so you can participate in your opinion about the questions we have in the polls. But while that is happening, I would like to hand over for closure to Hesham. Hesham, let's look at the title of the webinar, How Modernized DDI Underpins the Future of the Cloud. Could you answer that question within a summary while the audience will be able to respond to the polls and put in any questions? So let's try to summarize and give the audience the bottom line to answer the title of the webinar.
Thank you so much. We have to understand that the DDI always comes first. The very first thing when we launch any system or device, he needs an IP. And this IP, if we can assign it professionally, efficiently, and secure, it will relieve a lot of pain that may come later. When it comes to telco cloud, we have to also remember that telco cloud infrastructure itself need an IP addresses, need a management, need a controllability, need a visibility, and need a DNS. So DDI start from the infrastructure of telco cloud. Then whatever comes on top of the telco cloud also need an IP and DNS. So the DDI need to be adapted with certified with all kind of telco cloud. Containerization is one of the main pillars as well that the DDI should have worked toward it, because we don't know what's going to happen in future. Even what we used to know before, now it's become very difficult. I work with multiple service providers in this region, even when it comes to forecasting. We don't know what is the expected growth. Literally, we have a best estimate based on the best expert, true, but the market evolved in a more drastic way that we need to be adapted. DDI is modernized in a way of support all standard protocol, all RFCs, support API for agility and integration. So at least we trust that we can integrate with any solution and fit in the best place in the telco. Fourth thing, we need to have the license that also customizable for the service providers. We don't need to go from physical to hardware, or from hardware into virtual. We need also to virtualize the license to give the control to the service providers to know and to scale and to size the network as they wish. This kind of help and flexibility is very important when it comes to DDI. I hope
Thank you.
I did.
Very spot on. Thank you very much, Hesham. Team, and I don't see any questions from the audience. However, what I will do, I will go through the polls. So the 43% of the audience said that they have implemented Telco Cloud in their environment, which is good. 43% said no, and 14% said they are still assessing the move to the cloud. So in my opinion, this is a topic that you need to start discussing. You need to start looking at within your environment, because in simple terms, cloud is the future. I don't want to elaborate so much because I will not stop talking, but the future is the cloud. You will not be able to build a robust network as robust as a cloud, and you don't depend on third-party support and third-party providers. The second poll that I will start just now is asking, what is the most important aspect of a telco cloud environment? So I would like to ask the panelists. Let's start with Mr. Humoud. The poll is the options that we have is security, reliability, automation, or scalability. I have my own opinion, but I will leave it to you to let us know. What do you think?
My humble opinion, I would say automation. Having a telco cloud by itself is not enough. We need to add the automation factor to it to really benefit from it, because we already have security today. We do have a reliable solution today. However, automation is part we're really missing in most of the IT or the network environments we have out there. So I would definitely say we need to work more on automation.
Very well noted. A very interesting perspective, and I agree with it. A lot of audiences are responding all of the above. Again, I respect that as well. But Humoud, I think your perspective is very important because, as you were saying, automation is the heart of why we are doing this to begin with, right? We need to automate as much as possible to provide a better service.
Definitely.
Okay, so the answer that wins is all of the above. All of the topics that are mentioned are very important, but what we're trying to do here is asking about the most important. And thank you, Humoud, for providing us with your opinion, which is automation. So I will end the poll now. I will move to the next question. So Omar, this is for you. In your perspective, why is it recommended to have a built-in DNS security and protection rather than a standalone solution? The questions are, or the answers are to minimize latency, to save operation complexity and cost. A dedicated DDoS protection results in more effective DNS security or better visibility.
I believe most of them are applicable. But I see when it comes as part of the solution, it comes as a pre-integrated security protection. So the reliability will be more efficient. The correlation between different events will be better. So I see when it comes that the embedded solution as a protection part of the solution would make much more sense rather than buying it from outside or getting from different third party.
No, I couldn't agree more. One of the aspects that we also highlight as consultants is the importance of integration. So if you have a out-of-the-box integrated solution to provide you with multiple elements, that will save a lot of hassle within the environment. Thank you for your answer. So Zeeshan, we will close the last poll with you. By the way, Mr. Omar, the most of the audience have answered all of the above, which again, it's the easier way to say that all of these topics or all of these elements are important. But what we're trying to say here is to use your valuable insights to highlight what is the most important. Zeeshan, with deployments ongoing, what does 5G mandate from you as a CSP? What is the most demand that you're seeing?
Actually, in Pakistan, as I said earlier, that we are not focusing right now on the 5G network because in Pakistan, there is a challenging situation over here, and the regulator is not offering any 5G license or spectrum to the local cellular environment. However, for the 3G and 4G environment, these kind of solutions definitely adding more value in the existing network infrastructure, and definitely by enabling these controls within our network, by enabling the security, the scalability in terms of scalability, that will be a very beneficial solution for our existing 3G and 4G network environment.
Lovely. Thank you very much for those insights. I expect that at one point in time, you will have to deal with the topic of 5G. So it will be a good, benefit for the audience to hear as well from Humoud and Omar in your environments. Let's start with Omar. What does the 5G mandate from you? What's the biggest mandate that 5G is implying on your environment?
The most basic requirements of 5G is latency. So it needs to be focused much more on how to improve the latency for the services and consumer. So to think about it in how to bring the data or how to bring the function closer to the user, how to be more agile in terms of service providing services to the end user, how to implement more kind of bundling with different functions and services that would give the advantages of going faster to the market, bringing different services and functions to the end users and so on. I believe this is how I look at it when we talk about 5G.
Thank you very much, Omar. Humoud, is it the same with the Zain, or do you have other perspectives when it comes to 5G?
I agree actually with Omar, but this time I would answer all of the above. We do need the low latency, we do need the virtualization and the automation, especially with, and I would say that I'll say that again, that with 5G we're concentrating more on the corporate benefit of it for the TV segment. So having it automated, virtualized with a low latency helps us to easily deploy a private 5G network for our corporates, and this is a demand today. We know that 5G is mainly used as a private network for our corporate customers. So having it automatically being or automatically being deployed would be a very good feature. Having it low latency for their IoT devices or for the real-time applications, and of course virtualized to remove all the headache of the hardware and the maintaining of the physical hardware. So at this time, I'd say all of the above is our mandate from CSPs.
Very well noted. Thank you very much for your insights, Humoud. 71% of the people who answered the poll agrees with you. But I see Omar's point very clearly, because one of the biggest features of 5G is, which correlates with low latency. So I completely understand that perspective. We are reaching the end of our time in this webinar. We have 4 minutes left. I would like personally to thank all of our panelists for their time today. We definitely know that you guys are very busy with your operations. So thank you very much for giving us the time and giving us the ability to talk to you. I just want to check if Mr. Tony is still online with us for any closing remarks from him.
I'm online. Thank you very much, Omar. Thank you, everyone. Really, it's very insightful. I was all time with you. It's interesting, in fact. Thank you very much. Thank you, Infoblox, for allowing us to do this. Thank you very much, everyone, and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely day ahead, and hope for a better cloudy future and a secure one as well.
Definitely. Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely day ahead.